Hey folks, this is Zach, your friend and realtor in the Bay Area real estate market. I have another market update for you today. On the screen, we have the inventory table updated as of yesterday, Monday, July 7th. And we also have the data from 1 week prior, June 30th, 2025. So today we're going to be looking at the trends that occurred over the past week. Uh, at first glance, looking at the table, you can see there's a lot of red numbers down here at the most recent data that we have. But I'm going to talk about this a little bit and kind of explain what's going on here. If you're new to the channel and this is your first time watching one of my videos, let me go ahead and quickly explain what you're looking at on your screen here. So this is the inventory by county, inventory being properties across the various counties that make up the Bay Area. If we go to the left-hand side of the table here, we have the dates, like I mentioned, July 7th and June 30th here. We also have the different counties that make up the Bay Area. Now, moving to the right, a couple columns, we have SFH active and we have SFH pending. SFH is going to stand for single family home. Active is going to be all the single family homes that are currently for sale right now. So if you were to pull up Zillow or Redfin or whatever website it is that you prefer to use, and you looked for single family homes for sale in Santa Clara County, for example, you should get a result right around 1,138. Moving to the right, one column, we have SFH pending. These are the single family homes that have accepted an offer. So they're not quite sold yet. However, the sellers have accepted an offer from a prospective buyer, and 9 out of 10 times these homes will be sold within 30 days. Moving to the right, one more column, we have the active to pending ratio column. We will touch a little bit more on this in just a moment. Moving to the right, C/TH, that's going to stand for condos and townhouses. Again, we have the active column, the ones that are currently for sale, and we have the pending column. These are the condos and townhouses, again, that over the past week accepted an offer. They're not quite sold yet, but within 30 days, 9 out of 10 times they will be sold. And then the right-hand side of the table, again, we have the active to pending ratio column for condos and townhouses. So jumping into the data here, like I mentioned just a moment ago, it looks like there's a lot of red on the table here. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention for my new viewers is let's elaborate a little bit on the ratio columns. So the active to pending ratio, how we get this number essentially is we're going to take the active inventory and we're going to divide that by the pending inventory. That is going to give us the ratio. So, for example, in Santa Clara County, single family homes, if you take the active inventory, which is 1,138, and you divide that by the pending inventory, 565, it's going to give us 2.01. So for all intents and purposes, it has a ratio of 2. And you might be asking yourself, well, what exactly does that mean? So if I can elaborate on that a little bit, the ratio column, the lower the ratio is, the closer to 0 it is. That is a competitive market. That is a hot market. That is a seller's market. And on the flip side, the higher the number that we have, so for example, we'll go to our coolest market that we have in the Bay Area, Santa Cruz County condos and townhouses. We have a ratio of 12.2. This is going to be the coolest market, the least competitive, and the most buyer friendly or buyer favorable market that we have. So In a in an area like Santa Clara County single family homes, which is our most competitive market in the Bay Area, we have a ratio of 2. This is very competitive for buyers. Um, yeah, that's the best way to put it. Very competitive for buyers, very favorable to sellers. In this market, you will see homes with low days on market. So what that means is when these homes come to market, when they first get listed on Zillow or Redfin, etc., it's usually not too long before they go pending. Okay. Now, on the flip side, when we go to the least competitive market in the Bay Area, Santa Cruz County condos and townhouses, this is a much less competitive market. This is much more favorable to buyers. In this market, you will see properties that come to market with much longer days on market. So just to kind of give you some specifics, Santa Cruz County condos and townhouses, it would not be unrealistic to see one of those properties on the market for 1, 2, 3 months, and so forth. Whereas Santa Clara County single family homes, like I said before, it could be just a week, 1 week before it comes online. You see the home just listed, and then about a week later, it's pending, so no longer for sale. And then, of course, we have all these different markets that have active to pending ratios that lie somewhere in between the two numbers. I would say anything that is 5 or below is a seller's market, so pretty competitive for buyers looking in those areas. Anything between 5 and 7 would be a balanced market. So, for example, right now, San Mateo County condos and townhouses, and also San Francisco County condos and townhouses, these are pretty balanced markets. These are markets where negotiations are pretty even between sellers and buyers. Days on market, kind of maybe in the 1 month range, 3, 4, 5 weeks in that range. Anything that is 7 or above is buyer's market territory. So that pretty much explains what you're looking at here. Another thing that I want to mention is the color coding system that I have. So you might think that red means a hot market, blue is a cold market, and it kind of does in a way. But what this is actually more to more accurately describe what the color coding system describes is the trend that we saw occur from the previous data set. So this data set I have July 7th and 1 week before that, June 30th. So for example, let's look at Santa Clara County single family homes. Last week it had a ratio of 2.2, but over the past week, the ratio went down to 2. And if you remember what I mentioned, anytime the ratio goes down, the market is heating up. So that's why we have this number indicated with a red color. Now, on the flip side, let's go down to a blue number. Santa Cruz County single family homes. Last week, we had a ratio of 9. That ratio increased to 9.2. So that market is cooling. So that's why we have that one as a blue number. Last but not least, we have one number here that is green. This ratio stayed the same. So anytime the ratio stays the same, we are just going to use a green color for that ratio. And as I mentioned before, I think I mentioned it a few times by now, but now we're going to actually talk about it. What you can see on the bottom half of the table is a majority, most of these ratios are red. So that would indicate over the past week that most of the markets in the Bay Area heat up. But what I would like to say is you'll notice that this data is from July 7th. So what did we have shortly before July 7th? We had a holiday. We had July 4th, Independence Day. Hopefully you all had a good holiday, a good relaxing weekend to recharge. But nevertheless, we did have a holiday on July 4th. So what happens on weekends where we have holidays is most sellers are going to hold off from listing their property over the holiday weekend. Most times, what do sellers want when they sell their property? Most times they want the highest sales price. And in order to get the highest sales price, in order to get the highest offer, you have to have multiple offers. And the way that we get multiple offers is by getting a lot of interest, a lot of traffic through your property. And it's hard to do that when we have a holiday weekend because obviously, people have plans over the holidays. People go out of town. Sometimes people stay in town and they have, friends and family come in town to visit them. So even buyers that are active in the market, actively looking for a home, they might even take that weekend off to, do other things. They have other plans. So for that reason, most sellers and most listing agents will hold off from bringing a property to market on a holiday weekend. So if you look in the active column we have here, you can see we have all negative numbers, or we have, I guess a better way to word that is we have less listings active than we did the week prior. And, for exactly the reason that I just said, I think a lot of these prospective sellers and these listing agents are holding off until actually the current week that we're in right now. So if you watch my market update that I do next week, which let me just insert this here. If you haven't subscribed, I'd appreciate if you could do that. That way you won't miss the next market update that I do next week. I think what we're going to see is we're going to see a lot of these numbers here increase. So basically, next week, we're going to see a large increase in the amount of active inventory across all the counties in both single family homes and condos and townhouses. So I don't really think that the market heat up per se over the past week. I mean, that's what the data shows. The data does show that the markets heat up, but that wasn't from a large surge in pending properties. That was more from a large decrease in active properties, if that makes sense. So yeah, guys, that's about it for the market update today. Hopefully you found this information helpful. Hopefully you found it useful. If you did, I'd really appreciate if you could like the video, give it a thumbs up. Like I said, stay tuned for the video that I have next week, which would be July 14th. And like I said, what I'm expecting to see is a pretty big surge in the amount of active inventory that comes to market. So go ahead and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Please share this video with somebody you know that is looking to buy or sell real estate in the Bay Area. If you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. If you would like any information on any micro markets within the Bay Area. So one example that I use frequently is Santa Clara County. Within Santa Clara County, we have some very hot markets like Silicon Valley, Sunnyvale, Cupertino, but we also have some markets that are a little bit on the slower side, like Gilroy and Morgan Hill. So this active to pending ratio here is just an average of Santa Clara County as a whole. But if you're looking in one of those micro markets, it's important for you to know exactly what that ratio is, whether you are a property owner that's considering selling or you're a prospective buyer that is considering buying. It's important to know what the micro market looks like before you make your game plan to either sell or buy. So if you go to the About section in my YouTube, my phone number's there, my email's there, my Instagram handle's there. Feel free to reach out whichever way you prefer. I'm happy to chat about that, provide any information or data that will help you with your real estate goals. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. If you are a returning viewer, thank you for your support. I really appreciate that. If you're a new viewer, I hope that you found this video insightful. I hope that you subscribed. And I hope to see you again next week with the next Bay Area real estate market update. Until next time, guys, have a great day, have a great week, and we'll see you with the next one. Thanks. Take care.